Tonight on the BuZZ, drones are causing airspace issues across the U.S., with more than 70 near misses reported to the FAA since August 1st. Carlos Grijalva and Rob Tharp co-founded Grijalva Films to specialize in drone cinematography. Tonight we talk with them about the challenges of flying and filming with drones. Next, Philip Hodgetts just returned from IBC, where he attended two peripheral events, the SuperMeet and FCPExpo. He shares his thoughts on those events plus IBC itself tonight. Kim First is an award-winning documentary film producer, a director, and an editor. Her fifth aviation documentary is Flying the Feathered Edge, which is currently in theatrical release as an independent film. Tonight, we talk with Kim about her plans for marketing and distributing the film. All this plus Tech Talk, a BuZZ flashback, and Randi Altman's perspective on the news. The BuZZ starts now.
Tonight's digital production BuZZ is brought to you by Otherworld Computing at MacSales.com and by ZenData at ZenData.com.
Since the dawn of digital filmmaking,
authoritative.
One show serves a worldwide network of media professionals.
Current.
Uniting industry experts,
Production.
filmmakers,
Post-production.
and content creators around the planet.
Distribution.
From the media capital of the world in Los Angeles, California, the Digital Production BuZZ goes live now.
And welcome to the Digital Production BuZZ, the world's longest-running podcast for creative content producers covering media production, post-production, and marketing around the world. My name is Larry Jordan. Mike Horton has the night off as he recovers from IBC. Thinking of the 2015 IBC show in Amsterdam, we have two reports tonight. The first from Randi Altman and the second from Philip Hodgetts. IBC, which began years ago as a broadcasting conference, was huge this year. 55,000 attendees, 1,800 vendors, and hundreds of conference sessions. IBC, like NAB in Las Vegas, documents the rapidly shifting trends in the broadcast and media industry. As Michael Crimp, the CEO of IBC, said, we have gone from an industry where broadcasters told us what we were going to watch to one where consumers call for content wherever and whenever they want. What struck me in reading the reports, and you'll hear Randi talk about this as well, is that IBC is expanding their role foreshadowing the future, not simply celebrating the latest product releases. As Fran Unsworth, the director of the BBC World Service, said, the future is digital, and we need to expand on it, but not at the expense of television and radio. I don't think anyone in our industry would deny that media today and in the future is digital, but there is a lot of disagreement on who the winners and losers will be as we evolve into this still murky and rapidly changing digital world. The swirling winds of technology are blowing faster than ever. IBC proved that, and any pundit who says they can accurately predict the technology trends that will be successful is blowing smoke. For example, you only need to look at tonight's BuZZ flashback, which highlights the big new thing of 5 years ago, stereoscopic 3D. Our job here on the BuZZ is to help you sort it all out every week. I'll be back with Carlos Grijalva and Rob Tharp talking with drones and cinematography right after Randi Altman has her perspective on the news.
This is Randi Altman's Perspective.
Randi Altman is the editor-in-chief of PostPerspective.com. She's been covering our industry for more than 20 years. She also just returned from Amsterdam, where she was attending the IBC trade show. Hello, Randi. Welcome home.
Hey, Larry. How are you?
I am doing great. So how was the show?
It's a whirlwind. It's a long show, and there was a lot to see. But in general, it was a good show.
That sort of encompasses a lot of territory in about two sentences. What was the big news at the show?
Well, the buzzwords were, HDR and UHD. The big deal was everybody, it's happening. Everybody wants to find displays that they could actually, do color grading and watch the content on. But right now with the specs sort of up in the air, so a lot of people that don't want to invest in it.
Well, UHD, which stands for Ultra HD, is a version of a 4K image, and HDR, which stands for High Dynamic Range, is a way of getting darker blacks and whiter whites. But nobody right now is supporting this from a software point of view. Adobe announced support but hasn't released anything, and Avid and Apple don't support it. Is this still a future technology?
Yes, I think it's going to happen. Everybody agrees that they want to see better picture. It's just getting there.
So is these technology demos, or are we shipping product? Where do we stand?
Not really shipping product yet. I mean, there were, as I mentioned about the displays, Sony had one at their booth, Canon had one at their booth, but it was all sort of in a very, it was in a back room where they were able to control the light. They really wanted to show it off as best they could, but it's not a real thing yet out there in the world.
So for editors, we need to pay attention, but we don't need to worry about spending dollars on it yet.
Correct, yeah, it's a wait-and-see proposition.
Okay, what else caught your eye?
Well, I visited Boris, which bought Imagineer less than a year ago, and they're already starting to put that technology into their Continuum products and software. The big news for them at the show, and I think this is kind of cool for editors, is that they've made a Mocha plugin, and that's going to be available for Avid, Media Composer, for Final Cut Pro, for Adobe Premiere. So instead of where it had as a standalone product where there was a workaround, now it's a plugin. It's going to be seamless within those systems.
That is an amazing piece of technology. Mocha does some incredible tracking, and to put that as a plug-in is huge. That's big news.
It is. It's pretty exciting. So they're going to roll it out. I think Avid's going to be the first one, and then they're going to follow with the others. But it's all going to be within the next month to 6 weeks.
Now, I was reading something that Snell was doing. What are they up to?
Well, you know about when Snell and Quantel combined as one company, and they've sort of been operating, sharing technology, but operating as two separate companies now for probably a year and a half. They decided to announce that the new company name is Snell Advanced Media, SAM for short. And what they did is the Quantel name still exists, but it's going to be their post-production product line.
You know, Randy, I was reflecting on your answers, and traditionally, new products were announced at NAB and shipping by IBC, but it sounds like IBC was more of a futures show. This is what's coming, but it's not yet available. Is that a true statement?
I would say so. I would say there might be some early adopters that'll jump in, but for the most part, I do think it's a wait-and-see type of thing. It just seems to be the prudent way to go.
So, Randy, what are your key takeaways from the show?
I think that UHD and HDR are not going anywhere in terms of they're here to stay. We just have to wait and see how it progresses, and then we also have to wait and see where we could watch these images. I mean, the clear takeaway was we want clearer images. Now we just have to find a way to work with them and to view them on displays.
Randy, as always, it's fun talking with you. Good luck catching up on your sleep. Randy is the editor-in-chief of PostPerspective.com, and Randy, we'll talk with you next week.
Thanks, Larry.
To read more from Randi Altman, visit PostPerspective.com. Still to come on The Buzz, Carlos Grijalva and Rob Tharp, Philip Hodgetts, Kim First, Tech Talk, and Buzz Flashback.
When you're working with media, one thing is essential. Your computer needs peak performance. However, when it comes to upgrading your Mac, there are so many different options to choose from that the process can be confusing. That's why Otherworld Computing carries the best upgrades that lets your computer performance and storage grow as your needs grow. Since 1988, OWC has become one of the most trusted names in quality hardware and comprehensive support to the worldwide computer industry. With an extensive online catalog of Mac, iPhone, and iPad enhancement products, as well as a dedicated team of knowledgeable experts providing first-rate tech support, OWC has everything you need to take your current system to the next level. Whether you need to maximize your system's memory, add blazing speed, or enhance reliability, look no further than the friendly experts at OWC. Learn more by visiting macsales.com today. That's macsales.com.
Carlos, Grijalva and Rob Tharp are co-founders of Grijalva Films, a San Diego-based production house specializing in aerial cinematography and unique camera perspectives using drones. What makes them unique is that they started their production company right out of high school. Hello, Carlos. Hello, Rob. How you doing?
Great. How are you doing?
How's it going?
I'm looking forward to talking to you guys because there's a lot of stuff about drones that I don't understand that I need your opinions on. Carlos, I'm going to start with you. Why did you decide to start Grijalva Films?
Well, straight out of high school, when I was in my senior year, I wanted to be a filmmaker. I kind of realized it. And I was like, I could either go to LA and be like a starving artist for a while, or I can start my company and try to make money and then go to LA and have a little money to back me up beforehand.
And did you and Rob start it together, or did one of you start first and the other came in shortly thereafter?
Yeah, I started it first and Rob came out after that.
Well,
He was actually, Carlos booked a wedding, and I ended up joining the team, and the synergy between us was pretty amazing, and now we're here.
Well, one of the things that I read about is that you guys specialize in doing drone cinematography. Rob,
Yes.
What got you interested in working with drones, besides the fact they fly and they're small and they go strange places?
Well, apart from that, I find it an amazing tool for a filmmaker, especially when, telling the story and to really motivate that story with movement. And I found that an interesting concept. And, both of us, we've always been huge tech nerds, and that, was a large contributing factor. And, with that, besides getting amazing cinematic shots and, the technical aspects behind it, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun and a great way to tell a story through a different medium that, people aren't really used to. So,
Carlos, what projects have you and your team worked on? I know from Rob's comment, you started with a wedding, but it seems like it's expanded since then. What have you doing?
Yeah, we worked on a couple of things, feature films. We tend to do the beginning sequences and the end sequences for the film. People like Ariel a lot for that. Do a lot of weddings. We do commercial work as well, corporate videos. What else?
well, one of our recent projects, we were working with the Port Authority of San Diego, actually doing
Surveying.
construction surveys. They had some development projects for 2015. So basically with our presentation piece with the aerial of demonstrating what would soon to be, the construction at the sites, we helped get them funding. So, for the project. So yeah, we're all over the place.
That's really cool because it's a way of using videography without creating a feature film that can solve problems that are really hard to solve elsewhere. Are you finding more of your business is coming from filmmakers or more of your business coming from outside the traditional film industry?
Yeah, most of it's actually outside the traditional industry. We've been working on some interesting projects with construction. That's been huge. And then just
real estate.
Real estate actually is pretty big as well. There's
Different
a lot
perspective of the homes. It's very engaging.
So those are the two main platforms for aerial, with the construction surveys and the real estate, and then also for feature films. That's
with the features, are you doing the entire feature, or are people calling you in as the expert in aerial cinematography, and you're just doing the aerial shots, Carlos?
Just the aerial shots.
Is that
Well, kind of both, actually. We have basically two projects that we're actually producing right now. One is, it's called Losing in Love. We're actually, there's 22 days of shooting. We're about 18 days in. We're working with a great writer-director up in Los Angeles, Martin Papazian. He actually has a film on Netflix right now called Least Among Saints. So we partnered with him to make this. It's been a total labor of love and, getting the whole thing together. So that's been a beautiful project. And then another feature that's in pre-production right now called When. So those two projects, and then all of our corporate commercial work. So definitely a lot to keep us busy with.
Well, what are you flying? Let's talk gear. Switch to hardware. What are we looking at?
So So there's a couple. Our manufacturer of choice is actually DJI. It's basically the leading drone manufacturer right now. So really, it's contingent on the application. So depending on what we're doing, like for instance, let's say we're doing a wedding. It's a sensitive event. We want to be respectful of of course there's some noise issues and things like that, and we don't want to intrude. So with that, we would use the DJI Phantom 3. It was announced a couple months back. Basically with that, it actually has a proprietary camera on it. It's integrated, shoots 4K, beautiful cinematic quality. So that we've been really happy with.
Log mode.
It actually, has log mode as well. So for the colorist out there, it's definitely preferred. And then, for other platforms, if it's something with high speed, there's the DJI Inspire, the Inspire 1. That was released about a year ago. There's a big update that just came out with the new gimbal. The gimbal is basically a three-axis gyro-stabilized device that basically, as you fly, counteracts the movements of the drone to allow for a very stable shot. And with that, they just released a new gimbal for the Inspire that allows for micro Four Thirds mount lenses. So we're really excited about that. That comes out, I believe, in the next month or two. So we're on the waiting list. and then going larger, then there's the DJI S1000. That's with an octocopter, and you can fly a Red Epic. A couple months ago there was a video with the Phantom Flex 4K. It was the first one flown on it was the DJI S1000. So there's some amazing technology out there. There's a couple different manufacturers. There's 3D Robotics that's actually here in San Diego, actually down in Chula Vista. And there's just new ones, springing up every day.
So how many drones do you actually own, or do you rent them when you need them?
We own 3, and then depending, if there's a larger application for, an S1000 or something like that, we'll rent it. But, otherwise, actually, the Phantom, it's been a remarkable choice, and that's what we've done a lot of our work on.
So now that we've got the camera mounted to the drone, what video formats do you tend to shoot?
So right as we got started, a lot of it was 1080-60. So we were doing a lot of, slow motion, converting it down. Now it's primarily 4K, 24 frames a second in log mode. So the color's phenomenal. It's actually a flat lens. It's about a 16 millimeter equivalent. So there's, minimal distortion. It's, pretty amazing stuff of what's, currently being integrated.
Are you able to see the image while you're flying the drone, or are you just sort of winging it, so to speak?
No, you're actually able to see it on the iPhone, iPad. I think you can connect to the computer too.
Yeah, so with the Inspire, what's amazing about that, and the Phantom as well, you can do live streaming straight from the drone, to your tablet or mobile device. Essentially, it's called an FPV, first-person view system, and you can also output via HDMI and broadcast on something as large as the Jumbotron in 1080p. So you can't stream 4K yet, but 1080 is still remarkable. So it's amazing stuff.
Okay, so now let's shift gears to one more. We've got the hardware, we've got the software. A client comes to you with a new project. What process, what workflow do you go through to record with the drone? What permits do you need? What permissions do you need to get? What are the rules that you have to follow?
So right now, at least as in the state of California, the main rule is you have to keep it under 399 feet. So as for permitting, there's currently none. The FAA has, basically legislation under review right now by the federal government. So that's going through, its rounds right now. So that the legislation that's coming out with the FAA, it's planned. It's supposed to be February. There may be some delays. And so that actually is pretty straightforward, and we're excited about it. With that, it will allow for a commercial license and an airworthiness certificate for your drone. So if it's under 55 pounds, which most the professional platforms are, you'll be able to move forward with your license, as early as 2016. So we're excited about that. But currently, it's as long as you stay with under 400 feet, you're clear. In some different states, there's local legislation that prevents you from flying, like in New York. There's some issues right now. There was a bill up last week that was actually vetoed that was basically going to make it impossible to fly under 350 feet. So with that, we wouldn't be able to actually take off. But that was vetoed. That was knocked off.
They're so smart.
So we're still in the clear right now. So until some actual legislation comes forth, planned for 2016, right now people are doing as they please. What's great about DJI though, in respects to safety, it's all through GPS technology. So what it is, they have a map, and with that, there's an airport registry. So as you get close to an airport, it will prohibit you from taking off. And then as you back away, it will place a height cap. And then once you get out of that radius, you're fine to fly, it's up to the 399 feet. But if you get close to the airport, there's, some provisions that you have to abide by.
Well, that gets to an interesting question. In the interface that you use to fly the drone, are you able to see your altitude and your position, or do you just have to guess where 400 feet is?
All the
altitude, position, speed, ascent speed, descent speed. You can even see yourself on the map. So you can click on the map, on the little map icon, comes up, and you can see where the drone is, and you can see where you are respect to the drone. And it can also tell you how far away you are from the drone.
So all the telemetry data, it's all there.
So the reason I'm asking is there's a lot of discussion now about drones interfering with aircraft operations. Since August 1, there's been 70 complaints of near misses filed with the FAA, none of which are your fault, I want to stress. Also, drones preventing firefighting equipment from doing fire drops because they're interfering with air operations. Is it a true statement then that the drone operator really does know where they are? Or can they plead ignorance that I don't know where I am and I'm just making a mistake? How do we prevent amateur drone people from screwing up the entire industry, preventing guys like you from earning a living?
What's unfortunate is, we found a lot of the commercial users that actually do it professionally are very, very responsible. And then you do see those cases of the typical recreational user, some pleading ignorance or not. But, they have full control over it. And it's really just a matter of common sense to not either, interfere with law enforcement. There has been some of those cases, and, not to interfere with aircraft. And with the new updates, prohibiting, flight near the airports, that's been a huge advantage. So really, a lot of it comes down to common sense, but, it is unfortunate that, the recreational users, are inhibiting, what commercial users, are wanting to do.
Yeah, I don't think that's really an excuse either. You know where you are when you're flying.
Yeah. There's
no way that, that's, you know where you are on a map, you know where you are because you can see the city down below. And you should be at line of sight as well. You should be able to see your drone.
That's a huge thing with the upcoming FAA regulations. As long as you have to be within line of sight of the drone, because these drones, you can rig them out. They could go miles. It's really, depends on your setup. But the FAA recommends stay within line of sight, and that's really the safest practice to abide by.
I've got a live chat going, and we've got a couple of questions. Caesar is asking that he wonders if clients are asking for drone shots because they want them, or if they're trying to pitch using a drone shot to their client. Are you having trouble selling the concept of an aerial shot to your clients?
They love it.
They love it. Whether it's the client seeking it or, they're just trying to use it as a gimmick, either way, people get really excited about it. It's some really cinematic stuff, and it's really useful, especially for surveying purposes, regardless of whatever industry you're in. There's some...
It adds a lot of power to your videos. Yeah. Just like a lot of it just gives it an extra little spice over the seasoning. I don't know. It's good.
Jeff is on the live chat's asking, he says, I have clients ask me for drone shots, but most are for real estate and some for action sports. For me, it's a fairly limited environment. It sounds like you're working within a very limited environment in terms of its real estate or its surveying or its filmmaking, but there's a lot of interest within those groups. Is that a true statement?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's definitely interest within those groups, and there's actually some for instance with agriculture, with farms, that's a huge thing as well. We're looking to get into, and also for surveying for the power companies. They actually just got a FAA 333 exemption to actually go out and survey the power lines. It saves time, manpower. It's just it's innovation.
Rob, where can people go on the web to get more information about you and your company and hire you for your services?
You're going to want to check out grijalvafilms.com. It's GRIJALVA films.com. And yeah, it's where you would go to find more information about us.
And Carlos Grijalva and Rob Tharp are the co-founders of Grijalva Films. Gentlemen, it's been fun visiting. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you, Larry.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Still to come on The Buzz, Philip Hodgetts, Kim First, Tech Talk, and Buzz Flashback.
If you need long-term archiving for your video content, then you should look at ZenData. They specialize in providing secure, long-term storage of video content with a low cost per terabyte. The company has a variety of archive solutions that range from external LTO drives that can connect to your laptop to multi-petabyte storage systems using huge robotic libraries. ZenData systems will store your content on LTO or Sony optical disc archive cartridges. And with their next release, they also provide an option for archiving to the Amazon cloud. They offer great compatibility with many of the third-party applications used in the media and entertainment industry, including most media asset management systems. ZenData has hundreds of installations around the world, from Los Angeles to Mongolia. So if protecting your assets is important to you, visit zendata.com. That's XENDATA.com.
Philip Hodgetts is a wizard when it comes to digital technology, and he is currently in Amsterdam attending the IBC conference as well as a variety of peripheral events. Welcome, Philip. It's always good to see you.
Thank you, Larry.
So let's start with IBC. Have you had a chance to tour the show floor at all, and what's caught your attention?
Well, I did spend some time on the show floor. It's kind of pointless coming to Amsterdam for IBC and not going to the show floor. But I didn't do the whole satellite Earth station, and, well, there's a lot of halls that I was not that interested in, but I certainly looked around some of the metadata companies and saw that there isn't very much new there. I was shopping to see if I could find a small 4K replacement for the GoPro, and I was sad to discover that the new Cinema Micro Cinema camera from Blackmagic was still only at HD resolution. So probably next year they'll have the 4K version for me. And looking at some of the work that we're doing now with the cooking show is having me record in restaurants, and the audio is suboptimal at times, particularly for the setup where we don't want to bother wiring mics. I know we should wire the mics. Don't give me the lecture, please. I know what I should do. But the interesting concept is knowing what the tools could do for me in post, maybe I can take that little bit less obtrusive in the restaurant and seize the moment. So I spent some time on the isotope stand and getting a demonstration of some of particularly their dialogue denoiser, which is so far beyond just the sort of parametric equalization that I've always tried to use to separate out the same frequencies from the background noise, because the background noise is in exactly the same voice frequencies. So they look at really the dynamics and what they expect dialogue to sound like and look like, so that they can then process everything that is not dialogue out of it. The more continuous that background noise is, the better. But they did show some interesting examples that intrigued me, and so I'm going to give it a go, because we have some examples where it's just barely possible to pick the dialogue above the crowd. So,
now, wait a minute. What Isotope is doing is they're able to remove echoes without materially damaging the principal voice?
That's one of their many tools. They certainly do a deverb tool, but they also have a tool that is called dialogue denoise, and that takes background noise out of dialogue. So the first example is the easy example. Of course, there's the air conditioning noise. You don't have to pre-sample and have a clean area, which means that it can vary over time and still be cleaned up. And so I was particularly interested in that tool. They have a whole range of magic in their toolbox, and I'm sure that it will be useful for me as well. But that was the one tool that I was really interested in finding out about.
Isotope makes some incredible audio cleanup products. The product is called RX5, or they're showing a new RX6.
Now they're showing RX5, and they're offering a $100 discount that I hopefully will be taking advantage of.
Well, there's a lot going on at IBC, which is not the show itself. There's a lot of peripheral events. We know that Mike Corton had the SuperMeet, but there was also a 2-day event called FCPExpo going on. Tell me about that.
This was under the auspices of Soho Editors with FCP Works, which is an American-based organization, and was a hybrid of presentations at one end of the space and a limited number of demonstration stations at the other end of the space. So during the couple of days, we had marketing presentations from Apple. We had some interesting presentations on Frame.io. We had presentations on various workflows. There were some great demos of SliceX, of course, and everything that it can do, both in the Apple demo and in other demonstrations as well. Really, a little bit like going to church, in that almost everyone that was there was in one way or the other already on board with Final Cut Pro 10. But, of course, part of going to church is to learn how to evangelize, so they were getting the evidence that they needed to go back out into the wilds and to deliver the gospel of Final Cut Pro 10, or the good news of Final Cut Pro 10. For me personally, the most fascinating was the metronome presentation. A lot of this has been shown on fcp.co recently, but it was great to get it straight from Ronnie Cortens, and the two guys that implemented Ryan and Matt, that implemented the Final Cut Pro 10 installation and workflows at Metronome, and just working how they work big multi-person workflows. You know, all this thing that Final Cut Pro 10 supposedly can't do is what they're doing on television shows, and finding that it's just working faster and better for them.
Now,
and of course, they want to use Lumberjack, so I love them.
Well, we must admit that Lumberjack is your product, so just so that I understand the love there,
yes.
Parent for the child. You know, one of the things that struck me, Philip, is that you said that Apple was doing presentations at this event. This is a very unusual thing. Apple doesn't do public presentations. Were they actual Apple people?
They were actual Apple people. Luke Tristram is one of the product management group at Apple. Yes, they were doing presentations the first thing up at the FCPExpo, but it isn't unprecedented. They have done similar things at the FCP Works demo room back at NAB, and even at the FCP Works launch, there was a presentation by Luke, again, as part of the launch of that group a couple of years back. So it's not completely unprecedented, but it is still rare enough to be notable.
Now, you've been involved with the SuperMeet for years and years. How does the SuperMeet and FCPExpo, do they compete, or are they the same thing? How are they different?
Oh, they're completely different events. The FCPExpo was simply designed to showcase Final Cut Pro and its ecosystem to people who were interested or largely, as I mentioned, already converted to Final Cut Pro 10. The SuperMeet is a gathering of creative people across all sorts of tools. I mean, there were people who favor the Adobe suite there, and indeed, Adobe was presenting again, and Al Mooney was his normal excitable self on stage. They're very different events, and they suit different needs. The only challenge that we have is that we were trying to have pop-up banners in the presence of both, and they were all at the same time, and there's only two of us, so quick zip off to the public transport, and there we were at the other meeting.
Is FCPExpo the same size as the SuperMeet?
Oh, heck no. FCPExpo was attracting rolling numbers of people, but never more than about 35 or 40 guests at a time, whereas the SuperMeet is 300 or 400, so we're looking 10 times the number of people.
Let's switch back to IBC before I let you go, because these are questions I'd love to spend hours talking with you about. But we've talked about the Isotope booth. Any other highlights for you at IBC?
The other thing that I was very keen to see at IBC was that is Dolby Vision. Terry Curran has told me repeatedly that I need to see Dolby Vision to understand the future of HDR television. And it is very, very impressive. Almost to the extent where I feel that I want to put on a pair of sunglasses to watch television. They measure television in brightness in nits for some reason. I don't really know why we don't use lumens, but it's nits. A typical HD display is about 40 nits, whereas the current Dolby Vision display is a 2,000 nits, so it's about 5 times brighter on the brightest part, because it makes the blackest even blacker. And so it is so dynamic. A sunrise looks like a sunrise in your face. It's almost that bright. They say they can go eventually to 10,000 nits. I'm not sure that I want to go that far.
Sit in the living room.
But they've already started licensing the technology to some of the television manufacturers, so we may see that. I think HDR, high dynamic range television, where we get brighter brighters and darker darks, is something that more people will see the benefit of than higher resolution, because resolution has generally been a perception of sharp, but influenced more by sharpness or contrast than it has by actual resolution. So I think it would be great to see that.
I had a chance to see a demo of Dolby Vision about a year and a half ago and was amazed at the difference between standard HD and HDR HD. However, up until IBC, no video editing software supported HDR. Avid didn't, Adobe didn't, and Final Cut didn't. But Adobe at IBC announced support for HDR video in their next update. So we're going to be able to actually play with it ourselves in video editing in the next month or two.
Yes, they've had another great suite of announcements and enhancements to their Premiere Pro and to the Creative Cloud.
Philip, I could spend the next hour talking about highlights, but I know you've got things to do back in Amsterdam. Thanks for taking time out of your evening to chat with us, and travel safely back to the States.
Thanks, Larry.
Still to come on The Buzz, Kim First, Tech Talk, and Buzz Flashback.
Hi. I've got a ton of brand new training videos showcasing all the new features in Final Cut Pro 10.2, and it's available today. In fact, we've updated our entire Final Cut training just for this release. We added more than 70 new movies covering every major new feature in the software. Then I added new techniques and new ways of working that I've discovered and written about in my newsletter over the years. I updated our workflow and editing training with 31 new movies and effects with 41 new movies. This makes our Final Cut Pro 10 training the most comprehensive, most up-to-date, and most affordable way to learn everything about this amazing software. It's quick, it's easy, and it's complete. I'm proud of all of my training, and especially this one. Get your copy today in our store at larryjordan.com, or even better, become a member of our video training library and get access to all our training for one low monthly price. Both are incredible values. Thanks.
Welcome to Tech Talk, sponsored by Key Code Media.
Well, let's move forward and take a look at another scene. So let's go to here. Let's just type Command A, get rid of this, and go to, well, here's another example, a restaurant scene. Here I have a wide shot of Andrew on the left and Danielle in the middle and Lisa on the right. I've got an ISO of Andrew, and then I've got a camera which is Lisa and Danielle, depending upon who's talking. I want to build this as a multicam clip. I don't have the same audio on each clip. This is just Andrew's mic, this is just Danielle and Lisa's mic, and this is just the camera picking up everything. So what I've done instead is, where I have a clapper slate, notice the clapper slate, is I've set a marker, the letter M, at the point the clapper slate comes down on all three clips. This to me is as fast as doing timecode, except I don't have to have timecode fed to the camera. I'm able to use the clapper slate instead. So let's go up to File, go down to New, go down to Multicam Clip, and here we're going to do this automatically because the clip names will work. I'm going to synchronize not on timecode, but on the first marker on each angle. Notice there's only one marker in each clip, and we'll call this Restaurant Multicam. And click OK. Again, we'll just, let's see, we'll pick this whole thing up right about where she reaches forward, right about there. We'll set it in, and the whole scene runs about there. We'll set it out. So I don't have to take the entire multicam clip. Again, think of recording an hour musical presentation. You want to do a multicam edit of each song, set an in and an out, the beginning and the end of each song, and edit it down to the timeline. And we've got it, except my wide shot doesn't have any audio. Andrew's mic is on Andrew's mic, and Lisa and Danielle's mic is on. So what do? Before you build the multicam clip, select the audio of each one of the individual clips. Go to the inspector, select the clip, go to the audio tab, and make sure that this gets switched from stereo, which is how Final Cut imports it, to dual channel mono. What dual channel mono means is that now I see the entire audio picked up by the camera mic or the wireless mic that Andrew's wearing. I'm going to turn off the general, keep Andrew by itself. Notice that that's where the women are talking. And then go to Lisa and Danielle, switch that also from stereo to dual channel mono. Make sure to turn off the general camera mic, pick up their wireless mic so we can hear the dialogue. And before I build the multicam clip, I set the audio to be those discrete channels. So I've turned off all the background noise behind Andrew and just kept his mic, turned off the background noise behind Danielle and Lisa and just hear their mic. And now when I go up to the file menu, multicam clip, it's built the audio into that clip just as we've specified in the inspector. We'll set an in, and we'll set an out, edit it down. I don't see audio for the wide shot because I've turned it off, but the audio is there for the cameras. I'll illustrate in a second. By the way, to see the audio, double-click, and I can separate that or expand audio components, and I can see all of the tracks of my audio. The big benefit is being able to manipulate our multi-channel audio in the inspector. Remember, I'm not doing mixes. I'm just able to hear individual tracks of my audio as I switch to those cameras. So let's start with the wide shot. We'll hide the browser and the library, hide the inspector so I can see what I've got to work with. And Lisa's going to reach forward. I'm going to cut to Lisa, then I'm going to cut to Andrew, but I want the audio to follow so I can pick up their individual mics. I'm going to need to do some additional trimming a little later. Here we go. Watch this. I don't need to hear it. So she reaches forward and cut back to her and cut to Andrew, looks over, Danielle talks. Okay, so notice how I'm seeing Lisa's speech, but I'm not seeing Andrew's speech. So we can still trim this. We can open this up, go to Clip, expand audio components, and notice that now I'm able to see the different audio that I've got. Let's just zoom in, Command plus, grab this clip and drag it over so I can pick up more of her lines. This is where Final Cut has changed audio handling a lot. I can change my audio trimming here by going in and being able to manipulate all the different audio tracks that I work with without having to mess with my edit. This makes working with multi-channel audio a lot easier. All I did is I set this up as dual channel mono in the inspector first, then I did my edit, then I exposed the clips, the audio clips, by going to expand audio components, and when I'm done, and I just say collapse audio components and everything is back again. Kim First is an award-winning documentary film producer. She's also a director and an editor. Flying the Feathered Edge is Kim's 5th aviation documentary, and it's screening in theaters today. Hello, Kim. Welcome back.
Hi, Larry. It's great to see you.
Well, you know, I was just thinking, this is not only the first time that we've seen each other, but it's not the first time that we've talked, because we first met you and learned about Flying the Feathered Edge in June of 2014. I looked it up. So as a recap, for people that may not have been paying attention to our June 2014 show, what is the film about?
So Flying the Feathered Edge is about Robert A. Bob Hoover. He's considered to be our greatest living aviator. He's 93 years old, and he's been a test pilot, experimental test pilot, air show pilot, World War II, prisoner of war. He is considered by many pilots to be the pilot's pilot. He's someone that they all look up to.
How did you ever connect with him?
So this is actually my 5th aviation and aerospace documentary that I've done as a film editor this was my first as producer director, and I was looking for something that was in my wheelhouse, something I knew and understood. And I love aviation, and I had worked on many other aviation films. So I was looking for something that I could really sink my teeth into. And that's how I found Bob's story.
Well, yeah, but there's got to be more to it than that. You're not 94. You haven't been in aviation for as long as he has. How did you track him down?
Well, that was fortunate. I had a friend make an introduction, and he knew I was looking. He knew I was searching for a topic within aviation, and I was looking for a story. And he said, Kim, let me introduce you to somebody. And so he invited me into a very, coveted Bob Hoover dinner. It was like 9 or 10 very accomplished pilots and myself. And I got to be a fly on the wall and listen to Bob's stories. And by the end of that night, I was pretty certain I had a great story.
That is so cool. Well, when we talked a year and a half ago, you were in production and post, and now you're in an entirely different position. You're screening the film. Tell me what's happening now.
So we're in a really neat position because the film is done, and now we have chosen to self-distribute the film, which is a choice, and we think we made the right choice with that. We released on DVD and Blu-ray last holiday season, and we had a diehard bunch of followers by that point. We probably had about 5,000 or 6,000 people who had been following our progress over the 3 years it took to make the film. So by the time we were ready to release on, this is as a producer, we needed some finishing funds. We actually were in a position where we had some couple pieces of music to pay for. We had our errors and omissions insurance. There were certain hard costs and deferred costs for people who had done stuff to, we'd pay them later. And so I was looking at a producer at, a couple of offers for distribution that frankly for documentaries weren't, was solid, but there was no upfront, there was no promise of anything. And I went, you know what? I borrowed $5,000 and we printed a whole bunch of DVDs. I put them for sale and we made all the rest of the money we needed for the film. And I kind of had one thing going while the other was going, and we, things crossed at the right time. And now we're, we haven't paid everyone back yet because, anyway, I've got so much to say about this. I'll just say in a nutshell, where we are now is we are selling the DVD. We've played all over the country. We've played at, major aviation events. We've done screenings in IMAX theaters like the National Museum of the U.S. Air Force. We played big outdoor amphitheaters like Oshkosh. We had 7,000 people at one screening in Oshkosh at the world's greatest fly-in. We signed up with a company called Tug, if anyone doesn't know about Tug. So we're playing at, AMC theaters across the country on a one-off basis. And I could tell you more about that later, which is exciting. And we just signed our agreement with a aggregator who's going to get us on iTunes. And we're going to sign the paperwork so that before this holiday season, we'll be up on Amazon. But so far, we've been selling off our own website. And we've just been, getting tons of press. We've had tons of positive press, lots of quotes from really important film industry as well as aviation industry. We've got a nice thick press book. That's where we're at.
But Kim, I don't know how to break it to you, but you had 7,000 people watching in Oshkosh. Why aren't you rich?
Well, that was free. That was promotion. Nobody paid for that one. We gave that one away. Oshkosh is kind of our spiritual home as aviators, so we wanted to give that to the people who were there at Oshkosh, and it helped spread the word. I mean, that's 7,000 people that may never buy the DVD, or they may. I mean, it's a film a lot of people have said they want to go back and watch it because it's so dense with history and great footage, and so there's a lot of people who saw it that may buy it for gifts for people for Christmas and holidays. And
all right, but let's put your producer hat back on. One, I have no doubt that the film is spectacular because you do good work. But you also need to make your money back and pay all your people. You've been getting really good coverage. You've been getting good press, and you still haven't hit break even. So from wearing your producer hat, what keeps you from slashing your wrists? Where's the money going to come from?
Well, so this is some solid respect I have for distributors, because as a filmmaker, you're like, they want to take out all these marketing costs and, gosh, I'm not going to get my money back right away. And, how do I know where all that's accounted for? And if you decide to go independent distribution, roll up your sleeves, because you're ready to do a lot of long work, unless you're going to just let it sit and languish and you're not really going to distribute it. So the thing I'd say is that, yes, we give it away sometimes. We give it away where it's important to give it away. And, we want people to know about it. So if, for example, Oshkosh gave us a lot of collateral marketing and support in exchange for that. So we look at that. We look at over the course of that week, we sold about, 450 DVDs. And that was all through the EAA, the Oshkosh stores. So, and they also, we had forums. I was giving forums, and Bob always gives forums. And, we had authors' corners. And so there was a lot of things that we do to show up, to talk about the film and get people aware of the film. So that's just, it's kind of the cost of awareness. I've learned a lot about distribution. I have a solid, tonight I'm going through foreign language translations myself. I've sent them to a company to translate, but guess what? When you do your foreign language international version, if you're the one doing it, like a distributor, they have a department for that. But if you're doing it yourself, you're not a filmmaker for a little while. You're a distributor, and it's fun. It's fun. We know our audience. We love our audience. We feel protective of them. We know where they live. We want to bring this product to them. But there's a lot of things that I've ended up doing that, you see why all these marketing costs come out, and it takes a little while. You have to invest back as you've made the film. Now you don't just go, great, now I'm just going to go make a ton of money of it. You have to advertise. You have to get the word out. You have to travel to places, travel to film festivals. Every film festival we do, we get great reviews, and they go in our press book, and we can publicize those to our fans. But they take money. You have to go, and you have to fly there, and you have to, be there for their forums and talk, and it takes work. I used the analogy the other day, like I'm in the business right now of creating smoke, whether, this is where we're at, this is how it's going. And you just have to keep putting the film out there we have the advantage because we don't have tons of marketing dollars. Matter of fact, we have very few, but what we can create is it's a longer, slow burn, and you have to stay at it and keep putting yourself out there to your audience.
So it's now a year and a half, 2 years after this film is done. You've completed your 6th film without jumping in front of large moving trucks. Would you hire a distributor for the 6th film?
We would have hired a distributor on this one if we found the right partnership, and we didn't. And so in a heartbeat, yes, I would go with a distributor. I would happily give a large chunk of whatever we make to somebody who's a professional to do it right. And that's mostly because I'm a filmmaker and I'd like to be making films. And, when you decide to do this, just know you're going to be being a distributor for at least a year, in my opinion. This is my opinion, but this is what I've experienced. And, I work hard every day distributing this film. And it's, we're very excited. The Tug is by the way, if I can talk about that for a second. So Tug is a tremendous tool for filmmakers, independent filmmakers, to get their films distributed in movie theaters. So what we found was, even though we had sold, we've probably sold about 8,000 DVDs at this point. And that's not, in 7 months or 8 months, that's nothing to sneeze at. We really released, I think it was right before Christmas. And, so I guess 8 months, 9 months. We've had a lot of demands for people seeing it in movie theaters. People still equate oh, that's a big movie. Wow, I see it at the AMC. I want to get all my friends together and go see that together in a group. Especially as pilots and aviators, it's fun. It's one of those talk back to the screen movies. It was just fun to watch in a movie theater. So Tug allows you to contact your local AMC at wherever you live. You could type in your zip code, find out what movie theater near you will screen any film which is associated with Tug, in our case, Flying the Feathered Edge. And you can go to the theater, buy your ticket, encourage all your friends to buy their tickets, and then you have a bona fide screening. We sold out our first one in San Diego a couple weeks ago.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. You've released on DVD, so you're getting some income back. But if I remember correctly, you're also screening in New York. Are you thinking of screening in LA and qualifying for an Oscar?
You know, I have made the decision that I'm not going to go for that. And one of the reasons is there's more hoops to jump through than just that. And it's a financial consideration. If I really felt we had a hardcore shot at an Academy Award, I would do it in a heartbeat, because obviously that's what every filmmaker wants, an Academy Award. But I wouldn't waste my money on trying to qualify. It just would be such a long shot. And that's not, you know, denigrating my film at all. It's a wonderful, poetic, gorgeous film with Harrison Ford. It's beautiful. It's got Dick and Burt Rutan, and it's a gorgeous little film. But, you know, what we would have to do, we'd have to book out a theater for a week in New York, a week in LA. We'd have to buy advertising space. I believe it's the LA Times and the New York Times. And it has to be a certain size, it has to run for a certain amount of time. And there's actually companies that do this for you. You can have a company do your qualification. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, we don't have the money to do a big campaign. I mean, we're staying in our lane. And we want to reach our fans and the people who are going to really love this film. We're not going to try to convince everyone.
It sounds spectacular. When are you going to get out of producing and go back into directing again?
As soon as I get my investors paid back. That is seriously. I mean, I think about it like at night. I stay up and I'm like, I got to get my investors paid back. And that's what motivates me. I mean, truly, it's what keeps me like hitting it hard every day, because, you know, it matters for your next film. It just matters on a personal level with the people who have entrusted you. We didn't raise a tremendous amount of money, but what we did raise, I feel like my job is done when I get them paid back plus $1, and then I can go, okay, great. Now I'm going to go, you know, move on to what I'm doing next. So I still got my teeth sunk in this one.
So for people that want to help you pay off your investors, where can they go on the web to learn more about you and the movie?
That is an excellent question. So please go to see an incredible aviation documentary. You'll never look at an airplane the same way again. TheBobHooverProject.com. TheBobHooverProject.com. And Kim First is the producer, the director. And Kim, thanks for joining us today. We'll keep in touch. Thanks. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
It's time for a BuZZ flashback. 5 years ago today.
So obviously with all of our cars you get a software there which is Media Express. Media Express is a free piece of software that enables you to capture and play back video. The great thing is with the Detling HD Extreme card is it enables you to capture that 3D footage into Media Express and then combine two signals, so maybe your left and your right, into one single 3D output.
This was a BuZZ flashback.
I've enjoyed following Kim as she's put this film together, because she shared more information with us than most producers do in terms of how she is putting the whole package together. It's not just about making the film, which is fun, or writing the film or editing the film, which is all a piece of it. But then at the end, you got to make money on the film so you can afford the next film. And I've been fascinated with the work that's involved, as Kim has explained it to us, in terms of how she has funded the film and now how she's earning the money back. And I'm also interested that she's been so aggressive in recruiting audience members, that her web fans are buying the DVDs, which is giving her the money that she needs to be able to finish the film and to release it theatrically, as well as develop other avenues. It's an interesting conversation. We'll have Kim back a little later and see how the whole film resolves itself. I want to thank our guests, Carlos Grijalva and Rob Tharp, who are the co-founders of Grijalva Films, Philip Hodgetts, the CEO of Intelligent Assistance and Lumberjack System, and Kim First, documentary filmmaker of Flying the Feathered Edge. There's a lot of history in our industry, and it's all posted to our website at digitalproductionbuzz.com. You'll find thousands of interviews, all available to you at a moment's notice. Visit with us on Twitter at DPBuzz and Facebook at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Our theme music is composed by Nathan Doogie Turner, with additional music provided by smartsound.com. Text transcripts provided by Take One Transcription. Visit takeone.tv to learn how they can help you. Our producer is Serena Catania. Our engineering team, led by Megan Paulos, includes Ed Golia, Keegan Guy, Hannah Dean, James Miller, and Brianna Murphy. My name is Larry Jordan. Mike Horton is off today, but he will be back, and he's with us tonight in spirit, and both of us say thanks for joining us for the Digital Production Buzz.
The Digital Production Buzz was brought to you by Otherworld Computing, providing quality hardware solutions and extensive technical support to the worldwide computer industry since 1988. And by Zen Data, who provides highly competitive digital video archive solutions.
If you'd like to see more videos like this one, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. To stay connected and receive updates from the Buzz, sign up for our free weekly newsletter now. Or you can learn more about us on our website. And thanks for watching the Digital Production Buzz.